Hi, my name is John Fischbach with Catalyst Glass, and I go by the Glass Fish, and today I will be doing a demonstration on how I mix my skin color. Alright, here we go. Okay, to start off with, I use 4 inches of 12mm clear. This will be the core of the color that I'm mixing. I add quite a lot of clear to the color because I like the amount of translucence that it gets. A lot of times when you think of color, you think of it like opaque or translucent, like wall or window. When in fact, with the color, the amount of transparency is more like a sliding scale, and I like to play around with that. So I think the color that is opaque but is got a certain amount of translucence to it has a lot of light that penetrates into it and gives the color a lot of richness and depth. So I found a good blend that allows you to see into the color but not through the color, allowing it to stay opaque but giving a lot of brightness. Alright, what I start out with for my tint base is I use Troutman Art Glass Whiteout. I found that this is one of the densest white pigments for this. What this does is it'll keep the color really creamy but also keep it opaque. Okay, now for the skin color, what I'm going to do is in that Candy Cane gap where I just laid down the white, I'm going to put down Troutman Art Glass Cadillac Pink. This will help make the color look a little bit brighter than if it was just the white all by itself. That pink makes the skin a little bit brighter and alive. So I'm going to go ahead and coil pot that pink in there and fill in the gap on the candy cane so that the 12mm clear is now completely encased. It's getting a little floppy. Let's straighten that out. Okay, next is we're going to apply the tint base. This is the main color from which the color is derived from. I'm going to coil pot this over the outside like a candy shell, kind of thick, and that'll actually give us a little bit more volume of this color than the other colors. In this particular example, I'm using the New Color Company by Roger Paramore, and the color is called Pumpkin. I like this color because it's the closest to the natural skin tone I've found, but doesn't have any of the silver in it, which creates some of those reducing effects. This makes the color more stable for when I'm building sculptures and whatnot. You don't see the seams in between the layers of color as well. So I'm going to go ahead and completely encase the outer rod with this color, and let's do it. Wrapping color, wrapping color, wrapping color. This does take a few minutes. Okay, there we are, completely covered up. From here now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to establish a heat base. Right now this glass is not very hot. I'm going to add a bunch of energy to it to allow it to get softened up. The first thing I'm going to do is hook a punty up to it so I got a little bit of control from both sides, and then I'm just going to add a lot of energy to it. As soon as I add the energy to it, I'm going to start twisting it and twisting it and twisting it without stretching it out. That twisting it allows me to add a lot of energy and allows that energy to get evened out. As soon as it's hot enough to droop, I'll droop it and flip it over on itself in like a twisting motion, kind of like you're kneading dough. And what this does is this mixes the ingredients. After you've done a lot of the twisting, you probably need to do the twisting folding over on itself several times for several minutes. And we keep doing this until we don't see any more lines. What I'm doing now, though, is called the massage. This part is, I think, more important. Rather than using a drill or a lot of twisting motion to mix the color, what I'm doing over is I'm folding it over, allowing those colors to mix more randomly and in a nice hotter mass. The thing is, when you think about it from the perspective of thermodynamics, you only really need two things to happen to get the color to mix. You need a lot of available energy, and you need the particles to collide. Generally, people add energy through the flame and cause the particles to collide by twisting it. But there's more than one way to do this. I add a bunch of energy by getting the glass into a ball. and it just really holds that energy inside. I create the collisions in order to get the glass to mix by pulling the glob apart and pushing it back together. There is so much energy involved, and by pulling the glass apart and pushing it back together, there's so many collisions happening inside that the color actually mixes very, very thoroughly inside. You need to do this pushing and pulling for several minutes to really massage the color out. Occasionally, if it starts getting off axis or a little bit wonky, I'll do a fold over to realign the heat base and really keep that heat going there. Okay. So now I've been doing a lot of pushing and pulling, pushing and pulling, pushing and pulling, getting that color thoroughly mixed on the inside. I'm applying a ton of energy. We're getting ready now to pull this out into a rod. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to focus the energy on the center of the glass here, and I'm going to create shoulders. I'm shaping it like football shape, adding a little bit of extra margarine next to the punties. That'll keep the punties from getting too soft and pulling out. Alright, we're getting ready to do the pull. I'm establishing a nice good heat base. I'm going to give it a little experimental tug to see how soft the glass is. Now when I get ready to pull it, it's going to happen very, very fast. And what's going to happen is as I pull it out, it's a little bit goopy. If your color that you're pulling out is really stiff, you can just start tugging. But if your color is a little watery, like this color is, you need to add a little bit of motion. The motion actually sucks away some of the energy, the same as surface dissipation or stretching it. So I'm wiggling, getting rid of some of that heat, letting that energy dissipate. Alright, looks about good. Let's give it a nice little tug. The reason I only use 4 inches of a core is because it yields the right amount of glass for my arm span. Stretch, and I pull until it won't pull anymore, and there you go. Now I always like to cut the color when I'm done. I'll cut it right in the middle. The reason I do that is the best mix, the creamiest color is going to be right in the middle of the cut. So I'll cut it right from the middle, and I'll work from the middle towards the ends. And the last little bit, maybe the last inch by the clear rod, isn't as good, as thoroughly mixed, it's not as usable, but there you go. Several feet of very good, very creamy, very smooth skin color, ready to use. Thanks for looking.